The more information that comes out about the Texas elementary school shooting, the worse the story gets. I had generally refrained on this show from commenting on the reports that Uvalde cops waited outside and even prevented other people from going in while the shooter was inside wreaking havoc. I wanted to wait until more information came out and was confirmed. Now, that information seems to have been confirmed by the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Hey, for the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. But again, I wasn't there, but I'm just telling you, from what we know, we believe there should have been an entry at that as soon as you can. Hey, when there's an active shooter, the rules change. It's no longer, okay, it's no longer a barricaded subject. We don't have time. You don't worry about outer perimeters. And by the way, Texas embraces active shooter training, active shooter certification, and that doctrine requires officers, we don't care what agency you're from, you don't have to have a leader on the scene. Every officer lines up, stacks up, goes and finds where those rounds are being fired at and keeps shooting until the subject is dead, period.
There you have it. Of course it was the wrong decision. People are calling the response at Uvalde incompetent, cowardly, unconscionable. People want heads to roll. People want the department defunded in some cases. They want whoever gave the stand-down order to get dragged before a judge and put on an orange jumpsuit. I get it. But that does not concern me. That is not my call, or your call for that matter. That is for the people of Uvalde to decide. What does concern us, what concerns all of us, is the central lesson of this horrible ordeal. Namely, that we cannot rely on the cops to protect us. We cannot rely on the politicians to protect us. We have a right and an obligation to protect ourselves and our children. And as cynical political activists try to exploit this tragedy to push their long-standing political agenda, more than ever, we need to defend those rights. I do not understand how you can possibly hear about the police response to the Uvalde shooting and defend weakening the Second Amendment. I know that this has been the political response, certainly from the left and among some squishes too, is to say, well, because of this horrific shooting and the extremely botched response to it, we need to give up our guns. That seems like the opposite of what you would conclude. The reason to give up your guns, the reason to surrender the Second Amendment is, well, the cops will take care of it. You don't need to be armed because we pay our taxes and the state provides us people who are going to protect us if we're ever in jeopardy, if we're ever in any risk. But they won't. In some cases they will, in some cases they won't. You can't rely on that. That's the point. Ironically, this whole botched response is proving what many of us already knew, namely, you have a right and an obligation that is totally natural to self-defense. You see this from the shooting up in Buffalo. Do you remember the shooting in Buffalo not that long ago, just a few weeks ago? This lunatic who says he was radicalized on the internet during COVID and his political views were a little bit unclear. He said he was on the authoritarian left, but he said he had moved further right and he used to be a communist and then he was kind of right-wing and then he was left-wing again. And it was all part of this ideological transformation on the internet. Now there are news reports that this guy may have had contact with a retired federal agent on the internet. How long was that contact? What did that contact with the federal agent have to do with his radicalization? What did that federal agent know and when did he know it? There were reports coming out that this federal agent had advance notice of the shooting. Authorities are investigating whether or not he had a warning. And who knows how long that warning, maybe it was half an hour, it might have been longer than that. This is raising a lot of questions. What was the role of that federal agent? People have raised questions before about the Fed's role in some of these attacks. You remember the plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. We were told that this was a radical, white supremacist, far-right group that was plotting to kidnap the Democrat governor of Michigan. Then we found out Actually, federal agents were involved in that. Actually, federal agents were entrapping people in that. And some of the guys got off the hook because of it. So the question is, I'm not saying that the retired federal agent here was enticing this guy to commit the shooting or was entrapping him or doing anything like that. I guess it's possible. There will be an investigation here. But there are three options as to what this federal agent was doing. The federal agent was either encouraging him, entrapping him, inciting him, or the federal agent was trying to do something like that and was just completely incompetent, or the federal agent was a neo-Nazi and actually agreed with the guy. Those are the only three options as far as I can tell. What else could this guy have been doing interacting with this killer? Why else would this guy have gotten advance notice about the shooting if he was not involved in some way, if there were not some operation going on here to investigate and entrap white supremacists, or the agent just had no idea what he was doing, or the agent was on the guy's team? In any of those cases, you need to protect yourself. None of those possible scenarios look very good for the federal agent or for law enforcement. If these reports are true, we don't know if they're true yet, there will be an investigation. All that does is add more evidence to the argument that you need to be able to protect yourself. All around, you've got law and order crumbling in the country, and the justice system isn't doing anything about it. There was a video went viral over the weekend of thieves in Los Angeles. They break into Sephora, the makeup store, and these guys, just by the looks of them, it's hard to tell because they're wearing hoodies and they're trying to cover up their identities, but just by the looks of them, I don't think that they're all that interested in putting makeup on themselves. They have big black trash bags, and they're just emptying out store shelves with no consequences. There's about three of these guys.
Oh my God.
And they're just being filmed too. I love these bystanders. They're not stopping them. There's no guard coming out and stopping them. They're just filming. I guess it's good that they're filming. We can at least see what's going on. And these dudes have no fear in the world. No one's going to come stop them. See ya. There you go. All right, they got it. Just walking right out. They're not even running out. They're walking out. That's how little fear they have of law enforcement. And it's not even the cops' fault in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, it's because the George Soros-backed district attorney has said that he's not going to prosecute these guys. So there's no surprise there. If you've got a radical leftist DA encouraging this kind of crime, then that's the kind of crime you're going to get. And even if the cops wanted to do something, they wouldn't be able to because the political superiors won't let them. If you are in Los Angeles, I lived in Los Angeles a long time, I would not feel safe relying on the cops to protect me and my family and my rights and my property or anything else. And what's tough in Los Angeles is it's very hard to get a concealed carry permit. It's basically impossible to get a concealed carry permit. So what would you do? Well, you could either move out to one of the counties around it where it's easier to get a gun and protect yourself, or you move out of the state entirely, which is what we did. It's not just Los Angeles. Look at what's going on in New York. In New York, subway attacks have always occurred. They are becoming more commonplace and they are becoming more brazen. So this crazy guy running around yelling. I think it's a guy. He's dressed up in women's clothing, but he looks like a guy. Sits down next to these women. They start to get up and, oh, there he goes. This woman sitting next to him tries to get up. He grabs her by the back of the hair, pulls her back down. She looks terrified, as of course she should be. She's saying, help me. She's kind of mouthing this to other people. She's remaining pretty calm, though. And no one's doing a damn thing. No one's lifting a finger. The guy's just sitting there, holding her down. There's someone filming her. I bet the guy filming her puts the camera down and goes and helps her. Nope, not doing that. Not in the social media age. Finally, the guy gets up. Get up! Yells at the woman, get up. And lets her go. I think he's wearing women's clothing. Yeah, it's definitely a dude, though. Wearing women's clothing and women's pants. What has happened in this country where everyone on that subway is just going to sit by and let bad people do whatever they want to helpless women who are saying, please help me, nobody does anything, because we are in a state right now in this country where no one feels the urgency or the ability to protect ourselves. We're all going to let somebody else handle it for us. I got news for you, folks. The cavalry's not coming in, okay? You can't rely on other people to protect yourself. You've got to begin to relearn how to do it yourself. I'm glad you like that clip. Now you got to ring, ding, subscribe, smash, like, whatever you got to do. Get the notifications for the Michael Knowles Show. Head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe. We'll see you next time.